Hello everybody, assalamu alaikum, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, a really big welcome. Today's video is another Teacher Talk Tuesday. This video is going to be a little bit more of a chatty video. As you can tell by the title, it's how I have become a confident Muslim teacher, and this was a request by one of you guys. So I don't really have do this and do this and do this. It's much more of a relaxed video. I want to just sort of have a chat with you guys and talk about my experiences as a Muslim teacher across the UK, because I've taught now in England and in Scotland, and they've been very different places, very different demographic as well of teachers and children. It's been a real journey so far. The question was, can you do a video about how to become confident in teaching, especially as a Muslim, and how has your experience been? For me personally, I feel like in my primary school experience, I had no teachers who were Muslims at all, and I had, apart from one teacher, all of them were female, and I had a really positive primary school experience. I really enjoyed school. I wasn't the brightest child in school, I wasn't the top of my class for every single subject, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing my friends, I enjoyed being with the teachers, and I enjoyed the creativity, the art, I enjoyed the writing, I enjoyed improving in things, I even enjoyed PE sometimes. I really love school. And then in secondary, I'd say from like year 7 to year 11, I also had a similar experience, but sixth form I absolutely detested with my whole heart, because that was very independent learning. I mean, the teaching obviously was there, but you were expected to do a lot more work yourself, and I felt the gap between GCSE to A level was humongous. But in that time, in my secondary school experience, I again only had one teacher who was a Muslim, who was visibly Muslim. So for me, I really saw that within schools in the UK, in my personal experience, there just was not enough representation of a Muslim teacher. And I'm not just talking about like somebody who wears hijab who's visibly Muslim, but just Asian, brown skin, like people in general didn't tend to go towards teaching, from what I could see. I think for me, being able to see a teacher who looked similar to me was so comforting. And what I found in my experience so far is that when I am teaching in any place, whether it is in a highly diverse area or a not very diverse area, the children who have got any kind of similarities to me, who are either of an ethnic minority background, or who are Muslim, or even who have a different culture to the norm, they tend to be so drawn to you because they can see that representation. And that being able to give a handful of children that sense of happiness, that sense of belonging, just by doing my job, just by being there, just by having a presence within that school, has not only filled my heart up with so much joy, but it's given me a lot of confidence, because it's reflecting on my own experience as not really having that representation, and then coming to a place where now I'm able to be a representation for some of these children. It's just a really comforting, lovely feeling. Just seeing their smiles, seeing how happy they are, seeing them like want to talk and make bonds and ask questions, it's just such a lovely thing to experience. And I think that's definitely given me a lot of confidence with the children's, shall we say. And then on the flip side, children who are the complete opposite of me, who have come from a totally different ethnic background, to a totally different religion or no religion. The lovely thing about being a Muslim teacher is that you are actually able to answer questions that they might have based on what their parents have said at home, based on what they've read from the media, based on messages that they've grown up with. You are in the position to be able to correct and rectify those misbeliefs a lot of the time, and to also explain why, so a lot of times I'll get, why did you wear that on your head? Were you forced to wear that on your head? Who forced you to wear that? Why don't you show your hair? Whilst those questions coming from an adult in a different tone could get a very different reaction from me, because they're children, I just feel like they're curious. Like, children innately are curious, and so being able to explain, I wear this on my head because I believe that God has asked me to do this, and so I do it for God. I don't do it for my parents, I don't do it for my husband, I don't do it for my family. I do it for God because I love God so much. And you know, just being able to break down the misconceptions or break down the maybe like wrong impressions. Sorry, someone's in the garden with the lawnmower or a drill or something, so I'm sorry if you hear that in the background. Being able to break down stereotypes and break down misconceptions in person yourself is a really, really empowering feeling. And it's also like, I've educated this one child, then they can go home, educate their family, or they can educate their friends, and then it's just like a better understanding of someone who lives in a society, who is a hardworking individual, who is friendly, who's hardworking, who's caring, who wants to help out as much as possible. So, as I was saying, if you're a Muslim teacher right now and you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit unconfident, you need to shift your mindset to, I am not only doing all the amazing things that a teacher does, which is supporting children, teaching them, helping them learn things not just academically but outside of academics, being a primary caregiver for them. I am also a representation for so many children. You know, a lot of the times they're not going to come up to you and say, "You have changed my life, Miss da-da-da or Mr. da-da-da, because you're here." But sometimes you will just be able to pick up on their body language, on their smiles, and then at the end of the year, usually, especially if you've got older children, that's when you can get your tissues out and you can get ready to cry, because you'll get the cutest cards, the cutest messages, and a lot of them will be like, "Thank you so much for, you know, being here. Thank you so much for teaching me this. You've been the best teacher." And that is genuinely the loveliest feeling ever, because you know how hard you've worked for your class. You know how hard you've worked, and you know that these children, literally, they start to mean the world to you because you really do care about their well-being. You really hope for the best for them. I still think about children from my first class to this day. There's little memories that like make me smile. Like Black Panther at the time had come out when I was teaching my first class, so I just remember like the weekend after it came out, everyone was coming in and were like, "Wakanda forever." And then they came and saw me at the start of the next year when they were in secondary, and they were so much bigger and some of the voices are broken, and they were giving me hugs and stuff, and it was just so lovely to see them, like how much they'd grown and developed, and then how I got to be a tiny part of that journey. And I think if you look at the bigger picture and try and separate the fact that, you know, you might look different, and, you know, forget might, actually, you will look different to the other teachers. You will probably dress different to the other teachers, but that does not take away the fact that you are a fantastic teacher, and that's what you have to keep in mind. And, you know, the way you dress, the things you believe in, your religion, your culture, those are all parts of the jigsaw pieces that make you who you are. But ultimately, when you're in school, ultimately when you are a teacher, your job is to be that primary caregiver, to be able to support, to be able to be that role model, really, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that has to come above everything else, and then you can let, you know, all these other little jigsaw pieces help you to be the teacher that you are. And in a lot of ways, that's what I've done, you know, like, because obviously Islam is a big part of my life. I have been in the past the one to go and talk about Islam when that class is doing RE, or I've brought in religious artifacts from my home and shared them, and so children can have a physical look and touch of what these things are and why we have them, and so that's what I'm saying, is use the fact that you're Muslim, the fact you've got these extra layers to you to your advantage. But don't forget that ultimately your job is to be the teacher, and as long as you've trained, as long as you've got your PGCE, you've got your qualified teacher status, you are just as awesome, if not better, than any other teacher who is in the classroom. And I think you have to sometimes talk to yourself in the mirror and use it as an affirmation and remind yourself that, you know, you've worked hard to be there. You've sometimes put a lot of money to be there if you've paid for it, like I did when I was in England. You have plans and plans and plans. You've had over 50 lesson observations within 1 year. You deserve to be here, and you are awesome, and you are already making a difference, and you will see in a couple of months how much of a difference you've made. So I think just giving yourself I guess the last thing I wanted to say about having confidence as a Muslim teacher, in terms of being in a school which is incredibly Caucasian, and I've been in 2 schools like that. The school I work for currently, I'm the only one of 2 of the only teachers who has not got a Caucasian background. And in the school, in the village school that I've spoken about before on my channel, I was the only teacher of an ethnic minority. So I think that ultimately, like, being in that position, you have to be prepared to have a very different response to when you walk into a school that's very multicultural, because the adults as well as the children are not used to seeing somebody of an ethnic minority in this role. But you need to, again, like I said, reaffirm to yourself that you are fantastic, you are awesome, you are strong, you are totally capable of doing this job, and you are amazing, and you know you deserve this job if you are doubting yourself. And if you're not, then just go in there and show them how fantastic you are. I always think that it's nice to go a little bit extra if you are, especially if you're in an environment where there is maybe a little bit more frosty towards you, or you feel like you can't relate, or you don't have anything in common with the teachers. Just go in with an extra big smile. Don't sit by yourself, don't isolate yourself. Well, obviously right now we're isolating, but you know, after this whole COVID-19 thing is over, don't self-isolate. You know, sit in the staff room at breaks and lunch times. Try and get to know the other teachers. Try and get involved as much as possible. And I know this can be hard because a lot of the teacher social events do revolve around, you know, going out, having a night out, or going somewhere where there might be a lot of alcohol or whatever. But do what you want to do and do what you can do within the best of your ability and within your own comfort levels. You know, I've definitely been at gatherings before where there has been alcohol, and personally I don't have a problem with that, because I know, you know, I'll be drinking my lemonade and I'll be still socializing, but I'll only stay for about half an hour maybe. I wouldn't stay for the whole time, but just sort of show face. You know, I feel like if we end up isolating ourselves and we don't try to integrate with the community a little bit, then we are just making it a lot harder for ourselves. So I'm not saying, right, every night now, every single Friday night, every single Saturday night, you're going to go out, you're going to have a crazy time, No, but it depends on the school, obviously. Like my last school where I worked for 2 years, they had quite a few social gatherings and social events, and maybe I would go to 1 in 3 of them, and that was fine. Especially if it was in school, like after school, like a borough or something, I would definitely go to those where I could, where it was possible, where I didn't have any other plans. And it's just about making that extra little bit of effort with, you know, your other colleagues around you. And the more that they get to know you, the more the barriers will be broken down, and the more confident you'll feel, the more comfortable you feel. So that was what I would say in regards to staff and, you know, working in a school where you really do visibly stand out, and you don't look the same, you don't believe in the same things, you don't have that many similarities. Ultimately, you and every other staff member in that school is there for the well-being and the good of the children. Ultimately, you all want the best of the children, and that's where your common ground is, you know, so you have to kind of work to that and use that to your advantage. You know, maybe if you're a bit of a shy, awkward person, ask like 1 or 2 members of staff about, oh, have you ever taught so-and-so? Like, oh, have you ever noticed this? Or, you know, start a conversation, ask questions in the staff room as well, like when this conversation is happening, where it's like the right time to sort of just chip in. Go ahead and do that. I'm not saying you have to sit there and make every conversation about yourself, because that's a sure way to not be liked, I don't think. Definitely share and talk and try and integrate yourself as much as possible. And then the more comfortable you feel, the more confident you feel. So do those little things. And then obviously this kind of goes without saying, but make sure that you're doing everything that you should be doing as well. Like getting your reports in on time, doing your planning on time, making sure your data's up to date. Like make sure you're just on track just as everybody else is, because the more reliable you are within a school, the more credible you'll be, and again, then the more confident you'll become. That's about it, I think. This has become quite a long video. I hope it was somewhat useful. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you are a Muslim teacher, then please leave down below any tips you have, anything you want to add. Let's have a conversation under this video. I would love to chat to you. And even if you're not a Muslim teacher, if you're a teacher of an ethnic minority, different background, and you have experiences, I want to hear them, because I know that there's a lot of us out there who are being fantastic representations and role models for our fellow ethnic minority students, and we are doing a really great, fantastic job. So well done, I'm proud of you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thumbs up, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next Tuesday for my next Teacher Talk Tuesday. Take care, guys. Bye.